Good afternoon and welcome to the Town of Surf City Council meeting for October 1st, 2024. It is a little past 4:30, so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order and call upon Nathan Swartz, the Chapel by the Bay Church chaplain, to come up and lead us in our invocation. If you would please stand.
Let's pray together. God, we pray that you grant us good wisdom and discernment to know what your will is and to be able to do it now. We pray for the mayor and the town council and all of the staff as we seek to support this community which we love and where we live, that we might be able to do our very best to serve it. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity we have here tonight to be a part of what you're doing and how you're working. God, might you bless us, this town, the people that live in it, and all who serve it. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And at this time, if Miss Summer Meyer would come forward, and she's going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple proclamations this month, one being the polio awareness, and I've asked Trudy Solomon to start us off with the proclamation.
In here?
Whatever, I can pass you. You can sit there.
I have, okay, good. Okay. From the Office of the Mayor, our proclamation for Polio Awareness Day reads as this. Whereas World Polio Day is a time for Rotary members, public health advocates, and all who want a world free from polio recognize the progress made in the fight to end polio and the actions needed to end polio for good. And whereas most known as poliovirus, the virus is spread person to person, typically through contaminated water. It can attack the nervous system and in some instances lead to paralysis. And whereas there is no cure, there is a safe and effective vaccine, one which Rotary and Rotary partners use to immunize over 2.5 billion children worldwide. And whereas at the end of the 1980s, more than 350,000 children were paralyzed by polio every year. Today, Rotary and its partners have reduced the incidence of polio by 99.9%. And whereas today 20 million people who would otherwise be paralyzed by polio are walking, and 1.5 million people who would otherwise have died are alive. And whereas if all eradication efforts stopped today, within 10 years, polio could paralyze as many as 200,000 children each year. And whereas polio surveillance networks and vaccination campaigns also monitor children for other health problems like vitamin deficiency and measles, so we can address them sooner. And whereas the global effort to eradicate polio has already saved more than $27 billion in health care costs since 1988 and expects to save $14 billion more by 2050. And whereas polio eradication will be one of history's greatest public health achievements, with polio following smallpox to become only the second human disease eradicated from the world.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Teresa B. Batts, the mayor of Surf City, North Carolina, do here proclaim October 24, 2024 as Polio Awareness Day in our town and recommend its observance by all citizens. Passed, approved, adopted this first day of October 2024 by the mayor and town council of Surf City, North Carolina. Our next proclamation will be Fire Prevention Week, and John Koloski is the liaison for our fire department, and he is going to start off reading our proclamation.
Okay. Resolution number 2024-20, Surf City. Whereas the town of Surf City is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our town. Whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are greatest at risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed more than 2,700 people in the United States in 2022, according to National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 360,000 home fires. And whereas roughly 3 out of 5 fire deaths happen in homes with either no smoke alarms or with no working smoke alarms. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires almost in half. And whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can alerting you to danger in the event of fire, in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape fire. And whereas Surf City residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate living area, and on every level of their home. And whereas Surf City residents will make sure the smoke alarms meet the needs of all the family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. And whereas Surf City residents should test smoke alarms at least once a month. Whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be most likely to survive a fire. And whereas Surf City first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas in 2024, Fire Protection Week theme, Smoke Alarms Make Them Work for You, serves to remind us the importance of having working smoke alarms in your home.
Now therefore be it resolved that I, Teresa B. Batts, do hereby proclaim October 6th through the 12th, 2024 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this town. I urge all the people of Surf City to make sure that their homes have working smoke alarms and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Surf City's fire and emergency services. Passed, approved, and adopted this first day of October 2024 by the Mayor and Town Council of Surf City, North Carolina. Thank you. If you would, you can please continue standing there. This is Chief Wilson with our fire department here. With his extensive 30 years in the fire service, he assumed the role of fire chief in Surf City in May of 2017. Under his leadership, the department has grown by an impressive 48% in personnel, encompassing full-time, part-time, and volunteer time. The department has also experienced a remarkable 120% increase in emergency response. Furthermore, Chief Wilson has significantly enhanced the department's involvement in code enforcement, public relations, public education, showcasing his strong leadership and commitment to this community. Chief Wilson holds 3 college degrees and many certifications and licenses in fire services and emergency management fields. Chief Wilson's commitment to continuous learning is evident in his recent graduation from the Municipal and County Administration course at UNC's School of Government. His graduation from the National Fire Academy's Executive Fire Officer Program in 2019 is a testament to his dedication and expertise. This is a significant achievement considering there are have only been 207 graduates from NC and just over 4,600 worldwide since the program's inception in 1985. Chief Wilson's Chief Fire Officer designation from the Center for Public Safety Excellence, with only 1,800 designees worldwide and 160 in North Carolina. Furthermore, underscores his exceptional knowledge and expertise in his field. Along with serving the citizens of Surf City and the Northeast Pender Fire District, Chief Wilson also serves on several boards and commissions. He serves as the president of the Pender County Fire Commission and the Firefighters Association. He is an Eastern Director for the North Carolina Association of Fire Chiefs and the an Eastern Carolina Firefighters Association board member. He serves on the North Carolina League of Municipalities Fire Chiefs Advisory Committee, Cape Fear Community College Fire and Rescue Programs Advisory Committee, and the National Fire Protection Association, which is called the MFPA, the Technical Review Committee for the Design and Construction of Marine Firefighting Vessels as well. This man has done a lot, and we are very grateful to have him as our Surf City Fire Chief. So this is his day and his department's day, so I'm going to allow you to take over from here and introduce everyone in on your team.
Can I borrow your microphone?
Absolutely.
You get me turned on? Can y'all hear me? All right, perfect. Well, thank you for that, Mayor. I appreciate
sir.
it. Town Council, we really can't do what we need to do without y'all, so we appreciate that. Like the mayor said, Surf City Fire Department is a little bit unique. For those that don't know, we not only cover Surf City, but we cover the Northeast Pender Fire District, which it covers about 44 square miles of unincorporated area that's outside of town limits. So that's a little unique for some of the departments around. So we not only cover Surf City, but Northeast Pender Fire District. We do that with full-time career staff as well as part-time staff, volunteers, and ocean rescue swimmers. So there's a whole gamut of people that work behind the scenes and during the day to make this ship run, and we couldn't do it without them. So give it up for our firefighters, please. So we'll start with some recognitions for the past year or so. Some of these things happened in September of last year, but just kind of want to make sure we get them all recognized. First and foremost, I want to, I know this was mentioned at the last council meeting, but I want to recognize Assistant Chief Junior Hall for being recognized as the North Carolina Firefighter of the Year this past August. So the #1 firefighter in the state of North Carolina. Captain Jones is in the back. He recently received his advanced firefighter certificate. This is a combination of years of experience and training. On average, it takes about 10 years of experience as well as a little over 2,000 hours of training to just be eligible for this certification. With Captain Jones receiving that certificate this year, that makes 4 people in our department that have that, and we have several currently in that process trying to get it done. So hopefully next year we'll have some more. But it's a testament to how much time and effort our people put into not only doing their job, but becoming proficient at their job. So just want to make sure we notify them on that. We also have some new qualified instructors as of this year. And what this does is it allows our staff to teach North Carolina certified classes right here in Surf City. So we can now self-certify our firefighters for subjects like firefighter, driver operator, pumps and aerials, as well as fire and safety education and fire officer. So it allows us to teach our people in-house so we don't have to travel and go to different places for a lot of these courses. These new instructors are Chief Hall, Captain Jones, Captain Citarelli, Lieutenant Van Pelt, Firefighter Benefield, and Firefighter Weber. So thank you guys for that. We do have some new employees, and yes, when I call your name, you got to raise your hand if you're here. Mr. Bradley Capps is one of our new firefighters. Thad Collins is not here today, but he's one of our other new firefighters. This year on the ocean rescue side of things, we expanded that program to a lot more than we did last year. We had a combination of high school students this year, college students, as well as adult career people that wanted to just come out and help us in the summer. But new this year is a fellow named Isaac Loander, Robert Johnson, Will Bingham, John Utt, AJ Stender, and I am going to butcher this name, but is Raquel Nakashnechny? Is that close? But anyway, we couldn't do what we do without those. But there is one more ocean rescue swimmer that I want to recognize, and he's actually in the room back there, Mr. Blake Wilson. No relation to me, but Mr. Blake Wilson, I'm recognizing him because he has decided to transition to volunteer and start learning the fire side as well. He's enrolled EMT class coming up and is going to go into the fire academy. And today's his first day kind of riding as a volunteer. So appreciate you, Blake. We did have some promotions over the past year or so. Chief Hall was promoted from captain to assistant fire chief. We had firefighter Weber promoted to from firefighter 2 to senior firefighter. We had Bradley Capps promoted from firefighter to firefighter 1. Rodney Lester, firefighter to firefighter 1. Ernie Marson, firefighter to firefighter 1. Taylor Mabry, firefighter to firefighter 1. And then this next group is a little unique because they started as something else entirely. But Chris Stevens, from firefighter to firefighter 1, but he started with us as a part-time firefighter. So we try to build people up. And even the next group is kind of even more unique because they started as a volunteer and then decided that they wanted to make a career out of the fire service. So Alex Wiles started as a volunteer, became a part-time firefighter, and now is a firefighter 1. Nick Hubbard volunteered to part-time, now firefighter 1. Lorraine Walker in the back, you got to raise your hand. So she is a one of one at this point in time because she started as an ocean rescue swimmer. As a seasonal employee, and then decided to go on the fire side, and is now a firefighter and is going to be promoted to firefighter 1 as well. And then we have Wesley Solomon, is going from an ocean rescue swimmer to now a volunteer as well as a part-time firefighter. And with that, we couldn't do what we do without these people in the back. They make me look good most of the time, but I appreciate what they do because honestly, they're the ones that make the wheels go around. They're the ones that do the hard work in the background. So thank you guys. We couldn't do what we do without you. So.
Can you stand right there and let everyone come up so Miss Kelly can get a picture of the whole group? Including you too, Burton. Thank you again.
And for those of you that don't know, Miss Summer that did our wonderful pledge tonight is the daughter of firefighter Westmeyer.
All right. Next up is our Beautification and Enhancement Committee Awards. And I am going to call on Mr. Hill to come up tonight and present the Business of the Month and the Home of the Month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do you want this microphone?
Mike, you want that mic?
What's that?
Mike, do you want that mic?
So I don't believe either person is here tonight, but our business of the month is Surf City Gym, the huge place now up behind Lowe's. Dr. Ford is the main physician or main dentist there. I believe they are here. Also, our home of the month, they just got back in town a little while ago, so they're not here as well, but it's the Maddox family at 701 South Topsail Drive. So we congratulate both of these and have two more next.
All right. Thank you, Mike, for presenting and for the entire Beautification and Enhancement Committee for continuing to improve just the whole look of Surf City. You know, you're taking it very serious, and we like the way that we'll just be riding by sometimes. And someone told me earlier that they were riding by the park. I think it was John was telling me, he was riding by the park, and just one random day, he saw Mr. Jerry out there picking weeds, and he's like, hey, you know, what a good volunteer he is. So, again, thank you for all you do. Moving forward, our next item is the adoption of the agenda. And I think that we're going to add something to the agenda.
Yes, yes. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add the following items under new business. Number 1, consideration of the bids submitted by Norfolk Dredging. And number 2, fill the vacancy to the Beautification Enhancement Committee.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to add the 2 items to the agenda, one for the Norfolk bids and one for the filling of the vacancy on the beautification and enhancement. Now, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve the agenda. Next item is approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve the consent agenda. Next item is public comments, and I'll call on Carla to call up the
Michael Hill.
Even need to put the clock on this one's going to be quick. I just wanted to let everyone know, kind of a save the date, that on November 16th, we are having our fall Surf City street sweep. It will be at Soundside Park and at approximately 9 a.m. Please get there early. And it will last to about 10:30 to 11 o'clock. We're hoping to have a pretty big crowd this go around, because we have, in the last couple of years, have not been able to cover the entire city from the north line to the south line and on the mainland side. So we're really hoping to get that done this go around, because we do have a couple of groups that are going to be participating. So please be there. If you can't, please let someone else know about it. And then one quick personal note, I just wanted to say, I live in Sandy Ridge, and on Sandy Lane, on each side of Sandy Lane, we have, or have had, massive flooding on our roads out there. And this new storm system, or storm drain system that has been installed, man, that worked fantastic. We did not see anything this go around, so I just applaud you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy?
Andy Pyle, 17 West Ridge. I've got 3 quick things. One, congratulations on the skate park, really cool. Before you print up the signs, though, take a look at what you wrote in 457B and what you wrote in Section G. You have 2 things. One's a skate park facility and rules about that, and the other one is rules about the skate park surface. And one of the rules you have for the skate park facility is that if you ride a bike there, you better be wearing a helmet, elbow pads, and knee pads. I know that wasn't the intent. That's when you're on the surface itself, correct? So when you print up the signs, make sure that the rules that you post are applicable to the facility and specifically what's applicable to the surface itself. Okay. Second thing is, our website has got some problems every now and then, and I bother people at the office and ask for things to be printed out. In particular, it's the land use documents. Not all the land use document materials are posted under the land use header. So if you click on a particular property and you want to see the plat plan, it's not there. even though they have to have one. So if somebody could go back and make sure that all that information is in there, that would be extremely useful. And the third thing, stupid me, I actually watched the YouTube of the September 20th workshop. And in there, the discussion came up about the zoning ordinance changes being up at this meeting. I don't see it on the agenda. Am I just wrong? Are we going to discuss the zoning ordinance at this meeting or not?
Madam Mayor.
They are not on this agenda.
Okay, but on the September 20th workshop, it was in the agenda there that it will be brought to the council on the 1st of October.
You want me to speak, Mayor? I'll be more than happy to. So thank you for bringing that up. When we consulted with our legal counsel, we acknowledged some notification or public hearing requirements. So that delayed the potential consideration for council.
So we're looking at potentially November?
Yes,
But it
sir.
will be done, I mean, we have to have a public hearing on that, so it'll be done at the Tuesday meeting, not on the Friday meetings.
Correct. That's
Great. Are you willing to accept any questions or comments on that personally? I'll email them to you.
If you want to send them to
Yeah.
our planning director, please do so.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Thank you.
So you can take me off the other comments later on today.
Bill, and I'm not sure the last name.
Yeah, I withhold my comment. I thought there was going to be, the hearing was going to be more talked about the zoning possibility for the property behind our church. And I want to speak at that time, but not right now.
Okay. That's all.
That's it? Okay, now we are going to have a public hearing, and the hearing, item number 1 is conditional district rezoning for CADJ Pender County, PIN number 4235-34-3825-0000. And I will call upon Amy Combs, our planning director, to come forward and present the item.
Good afternoon. I am going to start with the public hearing for Jesse Zimmer's property. So Mr. Zimmer is requesting the approval of a conditional district use zoning map amendment to rezone the southeast portion of the 29.08 acre tract of land from RA, which is rural agriculture, to a conditional mixed use district. The subject property is located on J.H. Batts Road and is divided by the road into 2 individual parcels, even though it only has 1 PIN number on Pender County GIS. The applicant requests to rezone the 20.22 plus or minus acres, which are located on the southeast side of J.H. Batts. The remaining 8.87 plus or minus acres, which is located between Charlie Medlin Drive and J.H. Batts Road, is not a part of this rezoning request. The request would rezone approximately 20.2 acres of land from rural agriculture to conditional district mixed use. A site plan showing the proposed multifamily development has been provided for your review. The site plan has not completed final engineering. However, it represents the final design. If approved, the site plan would have to adhere to all requirements of the mixed-use zoning district and general requirements of the site plan, and any conditions that are added throughout the conditional district rezoning process. The applicant would still be responsible for meeting all local, state, and federal regulations. TRC, the planning board, and the council would review the engineered site plan before final approval. The Rural Agricultural District is established as a district in which the principal use of land is for low-density, single-family residential purposes. The regulations of this district encourage rural family farming activities and the preservation of open space. This district is designed to promote urban, low-density residential development, not requiring urban services, while maintaining prime farmland and a rural lifestyle. A table of uses was provided in your packet, which lists all the uses allowed in the RA zoning by right and by special use permit. So the intent of the mixed-use district, which is the proposed zoning request, the mixed-use general commercial district is to provide and protect areas suitable for a mixture of uses, providing retail goods, services, lodging, tourist services, entertainment, and single-family dwellings. Its regulations are designed to encourage the formation of continuity among commercial uses locating along the town's major roads and to ensure adequate and properly designed methods of ingress and egress to commercial properties while providing for safe and adequate traffic flow along these major roads. The applicant is requesting dwelling residential townhomes as the use. He is not requesting any other use that is allowed within the mixed-use zoning. For access, the town ordinance requires that streets interconnect with the development and with adjoining developments. Proposed streets shall be extended by dedication to the boundary of such property, and a temporary turnaround shall be provided. The subject property has direct access to J.H. Batts Road. The site plan provides stub-out access to the parcel identified on Pender County GIS as 4235-44-3096-0000 and a proposed connection or easement to the existing Aldrich Lane. As shown, access to Aldrich Lane, if obtained, would be via a gravel road. The applicant has not provided a trip generation summary. If approved, a traffic impact analysis may be required as a part of this site plan submittal process. The document would determine the need for roadway improvements along J.H. Batts Road. The site will receive water and sewer from the town of Surf City. Approval of this rezoning request will not place the applicant on the sewer wait list. Before being placed on the wait list, a site-specific plan will need to be submitted and approved by the town council. The Pender County GIS environmental layer shows the potential of wetland areas on the site. The applicant has completed a wetland study and is working with the agencies to finalize this document. The current zoning surrounding the property, to the east side it abuts C3 zoning, while the south side abuts MHS, and the west side abuts R5M. Mixed use and RA are located on the north side of J.H. Batts Road. The Town of Surf City 2022 Land Use Plan provides Chapter 5, Land Use and Growth Management, as well as Map 5-3, Future Land Use Map. The Land Use Plan is used to guide rezoning requests and in the assignment of zoning during the annexation process. If the proposed rezoning request is approved, the Future Land Use Map will automatically be updated with the new zoning. If the request is denied, obviously the Future Land Use Map will not change. The table provided in your packet compares the existing and proposed future land use categories. And as noted in the table, townhomes as a limited use would fall within the existing neighborhood mixed use mixed use future land use category. So the existing category and the proposed category from the future land use map are the same. So the neighborhood mixed use, as defined in our comprehensive land use plan, the neighborhood mixed use allows for a transition between more intense commercial, office, and residential development to lower density residential neighborhoods, as well as opportunities for strategic low intensity nodes of commercial activity. The neighborhood mixed use category is primarily dedicated to non-residential uses that provide services, entertainment, and amenities to residents within a 3-mile radius. This future land use category should be composed of a mixture of integrated commercial, office, institutional, and residential uses. The future land use classification is not intended to be solely reserved for mixed-use developments. Single-use developments that contribute toward an integrated land use pattern of appropriate commercial, office, civic, and medium-density residential uses are encouraged. Appropriate uses include neighborhood-scale retail, restaurant and office establishments, religious and educational institutions, and higher density single-family duplex and limited townhome development. Large-scale or intense commercial establishments, multifamily development, and industrial operations are not appropriate. Building footprints are generally limited to 15,000 square feet inside. So in our plan, we have policies that support this and policies that do not support it. So a policy that would support it is to maintain that small-town, family-friendly atmosphere by encouraging low-density residential development, compatible business establishments, preserving natural resource areas, parks, and recreation. A policy that does not support it is managed growth. The town supports managing growth and development based on compatibility with town goals, the capacity of the environment, densities allowable in sensitive areas, and the availability of existing and planned support facilities and services, and sufficiency of infrastructure. Congestion has become an issue within the town of Surf City. NCDOT currently has 2 funded projects in the vicinity to help alleviate congestion. However, neither project directly impacts J.H. Batts Road. Infrastructure needs. The town currently has a sewer capacity waitlist and is unable to provide sewer. This request could increase the amount of additional sewer that needs to be provided by the town by decreasing the required lot size. Our town ordinance says that when adopting this, there's just basically in your packet, kind of following the town ordinance, outlining how we use the comp plan to make our decisions. Consistency with the town plans and policy. Staff is submitting the proposed conditional district rezoning application. We submitted it first to the planning board for their consideration. The proposal is consistent with one objective and inconsistent with one policy from the town's Surf City 2022 land use plan. The proposed project is also consistent with the future land use map. Town staff submitted conditions of the rezoning during the planning board meeting, which was held on September 12th of 2024. These conditions of the rezoning were discussed. The site plan provided denoted a gravel connection to Aldrich Lane. The applicant requested the removal of this requirement to provide the connection to Aldrich Lane, as he was unsure if he would be able to obtain the required access. The planning board amended the conditions of rezoning as noted below, which is to provide a vehicular connection with the opportunity to do that to 3 different properties, to provide pedestrian access to the town property, and then that the residential units shall not exceed 99 units. The applicant has agreed with the above conditions. Council will need to vote to recommend approval or denial. Staff has provided a statement for each option below. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So with 99 townhomes coming out, they all access J.H. Batts Road, or not? I mean, is there going to be another?
So at this time, they would all access J.H. Batts Road. The property would have stub outs to additional properties, but until that property developed, there would, oh, sorry.
Amy, hold on one second. Sorry. I need to open the public hearing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, hold on one second. So do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to open the public hearing. All right, Ms. Trudy.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand traffic flow and going out to just this one road, J.H. Batts, is that correct?
So yes, ma'am. Right now, the only access that the project would have is the access on J.H. Batts Road. They do provide stub outs to the adjacent property. However, that property would have to develop for there to be an additional access.
Amy? So, like we were just saying, the only access to and from is J.H. Batts Road, correct?
Yes, sir.
See, quite frankly, where I live, I have a trouble with any of these developments that are being put in where they only have one access. We had a bad fire years ago on Atkinson Road, and there was only one access in and one access out. And that's something that's been done and overdone. That's it, it's done. So anything new, I would be strongly encouraging to get a second access. It just seems weird to me to have one access to a development with all those homes, and you can't get 2. I saw what happened on Atkinson Road, and we do not want that to happen again here.
Based on what you guys have recommended from the planning board, it's that we have stipulations requiring essentially a second entrance, exit, whatever you want to call it, or is it not, it's going to be emergency only, or what does that turn into?
So the plan board recommended the connection. So if they were able to connect to Sea Oaks Drive, that would be a road. However, that road is very close to the existing intersection. And there would be concerns with adding additional traffic to that road. The other connections are to undeveloped land. So there is an easement on Aldrich Lane, but it ends short of this property.
Is that the one with gravel? It would be
That
gravel?
is the gravel road by the power by Jones Onslow's Big Power area.
In short, so how does it work?
The applicant would have to get access to that gravel road. So there were three options for that access, one being being by the water tower, one being the property adjacent to that, which we have not received development plans on yet. Sorry about that. Always rumors that development is coming, but we've not received anything. And then the third option that the applicant offered was the connection to Aldrich, but all of those would be predicated on him being able to get that connection. And then we did request a pedestrian access through the town's property.
Now, did you say the plan is consistent with our comprehensive plan, or did you say it was or it didn't? Because to me, that doesn't seem like it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and specifically the neighborhood mixed use land category. It just doesn't seem like it's consistent with that. Does that make sense to you? So, am I misunderstanding that?
So there's always a little bit of wiggle room in all of these. The neighborhood mixed use is intended to be more of a mixed use development. It does allow for townhomes. It does limit those. So it would be kind of the council's determination. Is this a good place for those townhomes? Is this more than what we need in that area? It does allow for them. However, with the 5.1.f managed growth, that would be a concern, the amount of traffic and coming into this area.
The fire, I don't know what it's called, fire regulation rules changed recently in regards to second entrances?
Yes. So until recently, and recently within the last year or so, 30 dwelling units required a secondary access. In the actual fire regulation has not been updated yet. However, in North Carolina legislation, it was changed to 100 dwelling units, and the fire code will be updated to meet that requirement in the new one that comes out in January. However, we did reach out to the state fire marshal, and he told us that with it being in the session law, that we were to go ahead and go with the 100. So that's why the fire marshal did not require a secondary access. And if I've misspoken, Burton is back there and can correct me.
So there's 99 instead of 100?
Yes, ma'am.
Which 99 is the state law, not the municipality could be stricter.
Yes, ma'am.
Than allowing, we could say 98 homes or 90.
Or 50 or 75, 50. Or yes, ma'am, we could pick a different number.
Mm-hmm. I know all of us were down Sea Oaks Drive just a few months ago for I think it was a ribbon cutting that we were at. And it was basically this group of people that was at the ribbon cutting, and a few of their friends and family were there. And just with us being there, maybe an extra 30 cars, that road was pretty much impassable. So I don't think Sea Oaks should even be an option.
Well, it's really close to the entrance. I mean, it just isn't really an out. It's so close.
If anything, it should be further down the property, halfway down.
I want to bounce one thing before Mr. Cannady speaks here. I just want to say that. So I'm back to the plan. Remember I asked about the concept plan. So shouldn't it contain like single family, duplex, and limited town home development? Shouldn't that plan involve all that?
So yeah, if you read through it, it says that you can allow for a single one. However, a mixed-use development would be the preference. So something that had multiple uses within it.
God, I hate if comes, cans, maybes. I really do. Because I
agree.
I can drive off the bridge today if I wanted to. I'm just not sure that's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that process. But I'm trying to wrap my mind around this because I'm pro development. I'm pro people developing their properties, and I want people to be able to do those things. But I also want to make sure that things are done right. So I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I agree with everything you've said. I want to piggyback on what John had mentioned about the experience he had on Atkinson. If one entrance, basically we're setting that up for the potential for something tragic to happen. If one of those first couple houses were to get in a bind and they're blocked off, you've basically eliminated access to the rest of those houses. Two, personal opinion, I'm not interested in any medium or high-density housing that ties back into the causeway. And when I say causeway, I'm saying 50 between Surf City and the bridge. So I have personal issue with that if it doesn't fit. And two, in the land use plan where it says proposed uses, it says limited townhomes, 100% townhomes in a limited amount of townhomes, is my opinion.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
We have two signed up
Okay.
right now. If you want to go with those first.
Mr.
Zimmer, the applicant. When you talk about high density, this is actually less than low density under the ordinance under Surf City. So the current under the ordinance of low density is 5. This is a 4.95. If you're talking about a multi-use, the max you could, middle density is 16. You'd put 320 units here. And a unit of a multi-use could even have much more than that. So we are actually a low density. We only use 5 acres, 5.8 acres of the property, which is 20.2 acres. We leave open space for 14 acres. Yes, and John, I understand with the second entrance. Sea Oaks, I know it's a smaller road, but it is a city road. And that is an option. We are trying to get Aldridge Road so that we can have that, but that's another landowner that can determine that. There is another development by Sea Oaks, and I know the owners, they're gonna start, and with the sewer capacity and how things are right now, that property will be started, and they're gonna have probably the Pender County EMS down that road too. So that's towards the front of the property, but that is an option. We also have spoken, when I was doing this in the beginning with Charles Riggs, and he had the church, also needs some stormwater relief, which we have a lot of access towards the back. We could also access the church parking lot towards the back. Now, it would be a road, but it would be access to the property. As far as townhomes versus duplexes, we are way below density. Whether we could maximize as much duplexes as we could or townhomes as we could, we are at 4.9% density, which is low density according to the ordinances under you guys' stipulations. I mean, we leave 14 acres open of the whole property. So I know it's supposed to be a rural use. There's a lot of other properties that just got approved. We're 400 developments. This is a 99 development on a road that, yes, the stoplight does cause a little bit of back issue because of some of the stuff that happens at the community park. But we also know that I think the next ordinance is we're bringing in close to 44 acres right down the street from this that's going to possibly be developed one day. I am trying to get access, so that emergency vehicles can get there. But Aldridge would just be a gravel road. We would connect to the town. We do have a lot of ability for stormwater back there for the town. Whether you do a development like this, or you can still do a development under RA, and you could have 20,000 square foot lots, and you could still do a community back there under its current ordinances, and that would not require a secondary access. We're trying to do the development the best we can to make sure everyone's safe, and that it's not high density. It does create a MUP path, and so we're trying to connect a lot of the town. But it is low density. It's 4.9. If you take the number of units divided by the 20 acres, it's 4.95. Low density.
We have Bill with Faith Harbor.
My name is Bill Woodhull, Faith Harbor Church, and of course, we're an adjoining property. And our concerns are, number one, about the water.
You come on up to the mic, please.
Our concerns are mainly about the water. We already have some water issues, no flooding at this point, but there's a lot of wetlands there. They have to be protected as well. And of course, I think we're talking about a property with a lot of mobile homes on it right now. Is that correct? The existing property that we're talking about at this point?
It does no. It's vacant.
It's vacant?
It's vacant.
Between the back of your property and
Okay. And the only final thing I would say, that if the development does go through, that I would encourage the developer to make a pass to our church. People can join our church or can participate in church activities or use the playground that we have for the kids.
100%.
Okay.
Cindy Kennedy?
Cindy Kennedy, I live on James Avenue, Bryant's Court, and our concern there is traffic. Saturday, we were coming in about 2:30 into our development, and the cars were backed up all the way to Community Drive and then all the way down Community Drive, and it took about an hour for those cars to all get out of there. That light at JH Spats and 50 is quick. 3 or 4 or 5 cars get through, and then you have to wait again. So if you're going to add 99 townhomes there, 2 to 3 cars per townhome, and you're talking about another 150 cars coming in and out of there. And my other concern would be, he says he's only going to develop, 5 acres or 8 acres or whatever? That's now. Is he going to develop that in the future? He didn't say what he was going to do with that, just make it green space. So is that green space forever? Or is that going to be developed in the future too, and then we even have more cars on that road? Thank you.
I have a question for Cindy. Cindy, I'm sorry, just real quick. You live on James Avenue, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that not having another exit out of James Avenue is detrimental? Would that have made things easier on y'all? I'm just curious.
If we had another, of course we like it being a dead end.
Of course you do,
A lot
but-
of kids play in that street and stuff like that. If we had a fire at that end, you could get in through Community Way. There's just one little tree there that could be cut off and fire trucks could get in there.
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but would that alleviate some pressure for y'all if there would have been 2 entrances?
No, because then they'll be coming through our neighborhood and still going to be a bottleneck there at J.H. Bax Road.
Are you talking on her property where she lives, the street that she lives on?
No.
Okay, he's not talking about James Avenue Street.
Okay.
He's talking about the new road that would lead to the townhomes.
Yes. Do you think a second entrance would alleviate some of that traffic?
If they could get out on 50, is that where they're saying the road would go out onto 50?
I'm just asking, that's all.
Yeah, if it went out there, of course, then you're going to have a light, because they're going to have the same issue that we had until they put that light in. You couldn't get out, especially in the summertime. It is, I don't know how many of you go down 50 in the summertime on Saturday and Sunday. If there's not a light, you're not going to get out. So if there was
Let's ask you questions, but I wanted to ask that question.
So if there
too.
was a second entrance and there was a light, yes, that would help. But if there's not a light, no, it's not going to help, because they're going to come out where the light is. Thank you.
Sorry. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
No, it's okay. As far as the 20 acres, is the reason why only the 4.9% is being used is because the rest of it is wetlands?
Get me to that question.
There's stormwater and some wetlands area. Also, the plan that is submitted tonight, so those other acres would not be able to just be magically developed because we've changed it to this mixed-use conditional district. It would have to be limited to the 99 homes and stay relatively close to this plan that is shown in your packet.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight? Yes, ma'am. You can come up. State your name and address, please.
My name's Gloria Blanton. I live at 205 Triton Lane, and my concern is a one road in. Because I have a one road in, and there's now currently 24 homes there, and there'll be 12 more eventually. And if we have a fire, we're in trouble. If somebody, they've had problems getting rescue into people. So I just want to support you in that.
But I just want to make sure it's a conditional district.
Mr. Zimmerman, if you'd like to speak. If you'd like to speak, can he come back up?
It's up to you, the mayor.
Yes, come back up. I didn't have to 3-minute rules.
I have to have access. So I'm going to have access, whether it's going to be Sea Oaks, the Sea Oaks, I have to wait for a little bit for them to develop. There will be access. What Sea Oaks is current right now is a city street. I mean, I can access a city street. I know it's close, but it's by a stormwater pond, so if there's a fire, it's kind of blocked off from another part, but it is an access. And we are in contact with the next Oaks, which is down a little bit, where Pender County EMS will be at the end of that road. There's only one access into that Oaks. We would help them create a secondary access to get out if there was anything on 50 that stopped them from getting out. So it is a win-win all the way around. So we will create access. It's just not dedicated access because I don't own any of that property in the front. And the majority of it, if I was able to purchase it, it's so wet that you can't get a road through there.
Is that something on paper that
Yes.
you're putting a second access in, that's on paper?
It's second access that will go.
I'm talking like a main road, a second access road that people are driving out can use anytime.
We can have a secondary access to a street road currently, yes, which is Oaks.
Question from Oaks.
Yes.
I'm looking.
So the next property down is going to be just like Oaks. It's where Pender County EMS will be. That's what the plan is.
I understand that. I'm looking.
So what we would do is give them access onto this property from that secondary road. Now, the city doesn't know currently if that's going to be a city road or not. I don't know that, but that is another access. So now we have two accesses to get us to 50. So if I'm able to create a relationship with Aldridge on a gravel road, that would be 3 access. Now, that would only be for EMS or emergencies or public services, but it would be 3 accesses that we're trying to get for this piece of property.
Well, the way I'm looking at it, Jesse, Oaks is very close to J.H. Batts Road, correct? It's very close to the front of this piece of property you're going to create. So what I'd like to see personally is an access road halfway down.
It's not possible right now.
Let me just tell you something. Atkinson Road, where this fire was, house caught on fire, first house caught on fire. It took 64 minutes for 5 other houses to burn right to the ground. So, I mean, having an access road at the beginning of your neighborhood isn't going to help the people at the back of the neighborhood.
So then demand I have an access a secondary access of EMS that goes and I'll create a relationship with either Aldridge or I'll create a relationship with the church and be able to have access in the very, very back and be able to take on some of their storm water, which Charles has started that conversation. I'm saying this is a conditional rezoning. I understand that I'm going to have access. I know I'm going to have access. I know when I walked up here, I knew I had to have access. I just don't have access to Aldridge until I know I can move forward on how I can move forward. I can create a relationship with the church that can go all the way in the back, and that's in the back of the property. If that's a conditional that you guys want for this property, that's a possibility. That's all you have to say is that's a condition, and we would agree that we have to have some connection below Oaks. And I'll do that. That's no problem.
It has to also be able to accommodate Mr. Burton's specs for fire trucks. It can't just be a gravel road that's 15 feet wide.
But that's a part of what they requested on planning board, that it would only be, so on that gravel road, in the beginning, I don't own that easement, and that easement is not big enough. The road would have to be completely taken away and rebuilt for his trucks. The trucks would be able to go down Oaks or down the new Oaks, or if we had to do a path that was able to hold the 20,000, even though it was a gravel road, we could create a relationship with the church so we can have a path so people can, from the community, can go to the church, so that we can access back and forth, so that everyone can walk all the way to the bridge without ever going down J.H. Batts. I understand there's some traffic issues on Saturday where they have the sporting events, but that traffic light switches so fast, it's a lot of the traffic is because of that.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Thank you.
is there anyone else that would like to speak concerning this project in the public hearing? Is there anyone else that would like to speak during this public hearing? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to close the public hearing.
So, Madam Mayor, a plan with 100% townhomes is inconsistent in my opinion. Therefore, I'm going to make a motion to deny the rezoning based on the plan presented. I'd like, him to come back with another plan, not to put the horse before the cart. So I want to make sure that things are right. This sets the precedence for everything else, so I'm going to make that motion to deny the rezoning.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to deny the rezoning on the conditional district. Item number 2 under public hearings is the flood rate insurance map and ordinance adoption, and Amy Combs will present.
Hi again. We are going to go over the FEMA flood map update. We went over this at the work session. However, I'm going to go back through the presentation so the public that wasn't at the work session can kind of hear what the changes are. I may be a little bit quicker than I was at work session. However, I did want to touch on a few things. So as we know, the official FEMA generated flood map that shows a community's different flood hazard areas. It's used by the National Flood Insurance Program for floodplain management, mitigation, and insurance purposes, and it defines our flood zones and base flood elevation. The Town of Surf City flood maps, some background. Our current firm effective date for Surf City was 2/16/2007. In September 2nd of 2014, we were notified that we were going to begin this process of updating. Internal meetings began in September of 2014 with public meetings held in 2015. Appeals were made in late 15 and early 16 with the November 16 maps reflecting these requests. In November of 18, FEMA provided the town with a letter stating the preliminary information would be provided to start the 90-day review process, and then it kind of went quiet. And then on May 11th of 23, the town received a letter stating the appeal process would be advertised on May 18th and 23rd of 2023. Based on that, we held an open house on June 29th of 2023 here at Council Chambers. The appeal window closed on August 24th of 2023. And then finally, on July 17th of 2024, we received notification that all appeals had been reviewed and changes made to the preliminary map. The maps, FIS and firm, will become effective on January 17th, 2024. So for us moving forward, we have 6 months to adopt the final maps to remain qualified for participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. We have revised Chapter 8, which is our flood damage prevention coastal regular phase of the town ordinances to reflect the needed changes. Some of the biggest changes are the LMWA definition, which is the limited wave area, or limit of moderate wave action, which is on our maps now. You'll be able to see it if you go to the preliminary, and that will become effective. And what that does is aligns with the coastal A zone within the building code. So anything that is in the LMWA area will now be called coastal A zone. And then we regulatory flood protection elevation. So our base flood elevation, we've added the 2-foot freeboard to it. That gets us into the community rating system program that we have been working over the past few years to get into. It is one of our last couple of hurdles to get over. So we've added that in there. Flood openings are now required in all flood zones. So previously they were only required in the A zone. And the V had breakaway walls, and now they're going to have those breakaway walls and flood vents, so that in a minor storm, hopefully those walls will stay up and not break away. And then our tanks, like our gas tanks, they must be elevated in the V, VE, or coastal A, or buried. So that elevation would be like where everybody has their air conditioners currently. You'd also have your gas tank up there for your stove or whatever you're using gas for. So we would like to request adoption of the revised ordinances and the flood maps. And as always, if you go to frizz.nc.gov, you can see your map. Until January 17th, you will still need to click on preliminary to see what that is going to. After that, they will just be effective. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Have a second?
A second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to open the public hearing. Carla?
Patty Gilbride?
Hi, just a quick comment, Mayor and Council. I have a personal interest in the new zone being adopted because I will go from a VE to an AE only by like 2 houses. So, and I don't know if you adopt them now, if that will actually go into effect as far as rates prior to January 17th. My flood insurance renews in November, so of course I have a very vested interest in this happening ASAP. But yeah, I mean, I don't see a downside to it. I don't see why the council wouldn't agree with the new maps, but my personal vote is yay. So thanks.
Andy?
All right, I wasn't going to talk on this, but something that Amy said that raised the question in my mind, and that is the external tanks for propane, for people that run propane instead of electricity. The current rules were they had to be placed on concrete and strapped down, right? And now we're asking that they be raised to the height of the electric meter. Is there a provision to grandfather in existing that are to code? Or if not, how much time does a homeowner have to remediate this?
I'm looking at our building inspector, Kenneth Morrison, who's going to come up and answer that question.
Thank you. You won't have to do anything unless you put a new tank. Nobody will have to move their existing tank. Everything will be the same on that. But if you add a tank, that's when it will need to be raised up or buried. It can be buried if you have enough land to bury it on, because it does have to be a certain distance from the property lines and the building.
Thank you. Okay. You might not want to, you might want to sit close. Okay. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Any comments that they want to speak concerning the flood rate information during this public hearing?
I'm excited about this going from very expensive to almost expensive. That's what it stands for. So I'm very excited about that.
I have a question. When you say you can bury the tanks, okay, how much space do you need? Like,
depends on the size of the tank. Most of the time, it's 10 feet from property lines and 10 feet from the house.
I hate to keep bringing this up, but it's just an issue that I have in my head. One of the problems on Atkinson Road in that fire was the tanks were outside. Now, as long as the tank stays vertical, it's okay. It blows off relief every few seconds. But one of the homes, it fell, and it was laying on its side. Well, we never found the bottom of that tank, but it immediately exploded and set that house and the one next to it on fire at the same time. So I would think that burying it would be a little bit more advantageous.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially than putting it up in the air.
Well, and it's supposed to have been strapped down even if it wasn't buried, so.
It must not have been strapped down very well, but I mean, that's neither here nor there now. I mean,
Well,
but, you know.
Yeah, and if they do get raised up, they would just be put on the same stand as like the AC.
Right.
You know, that they'll have to start building those stands larger.
Yeah, and a little more safer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely has to be strapped. Just AC has to be strapped. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment during this public hearing? Would anyone else like to comment? All right. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to close the public hearing. At this time, it is required that we take action on this item, so it is requested that the town council consider approval of the revised map and ordinance as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Thank you, Amy. We have no old business, but we have a couple items under new business. And the first one is the Evolve site plan. And guess who but Amy Kimes will be presenting.
Good thing you didn't move your seat.
Good to see you again. On behalf of MPW Surf City 17 LLC, Withers and Ravenel request site plan approval of the multifamily portion of the Spiller tract. This tract is identified on Pender County GIS with a parcel number that I'm not going to say. The property is located north of the US 17 NC 210 intersection with approximately 845 linear feet of road frontage on US 17. You can see a picture of the site plan on your screen at home. The existing property was rezoned to a conditional district zone with C3 underlying zoning in January of 2024. The proposed site plan provided 11 multifamily buildings with 24 units each for 264 dwelling units. The commercial portion of the site remained traditional C3 zoning with the exception of providing a limited selection of commercial uses. The site plan for the commercial portion will be completed at a later time. During the rezoning process, the applicant proposed 2 access points on US 17 and 1 on NC 10 through an easement. Since the approval of the rezoning request, the applicant has worked with the NCDOT to determine the final access. The NCDOT has limited the site plan to 1 access along US 17. The access point is now between the commercial and multifamily portion of the site. The site provides 2 access points to the development from this new entrance road. The entrance road will also connect to the NC 210 connection. The applicant has provided documentation regarding this existing easement, so you can see it in dashed lines on your site plan. And we have seen the documents. Now that may change slightly because it does go through a piece of property, so they may straighten out that easement a little bit, but the easement is there and will be provided. The development is located within the Rocky Point Topsail Water and Sewer District as established by Pender County in 1996. Pender County has provided a release from the Pender County Utilities Department, which will allow the town to provide water. We will be providing sewer. Mr. Price will work with them on where they are on the sewer capacity wait list and when that sewer will become completely available. The site plan will be required to, or was required to include sidewalks along the frontage of US 17. It is not shown on your map tonight. However, I have spoken with the whole team just about right there about it, and it will be on the plan that is submitted for construction. So they are aware of that, and we'll make sure that that is submitted. The NCDEQ State Stormwater Permitting Office will be permitting this development for the stormwater system. As noted on the attached plans, the site was designed to limit impacts to the existing wetlands. The site exceeds the minimum required parking spaces by providing 499 spaces. The site will provide buffering to the north and west of the property by protecting the existing wetland areas, and landscaping will also be required adjacent to parking and along property lines. The applicant has worked with the fire marshal to meet all fire codes. And then in your packet, I've listed the conditions of the zoning approval and how each one was met. The item was heard on the September 12th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. The Planning Board recommended approval as submitted with the addition of the sidewalk along US 17. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Quick question for one of the group. Will one of y'all acknowledge that the sidewalk will be placed on the plan if we approve it tonight? Yes, sir. I mean, come on up here and do that for me.
A sidewalk or a multi-use path?
Yeah, was it sidewalk or multi-use, Amy?
Hunter Young, and yes, we will provide a sidewalk there as well as the buffering that we promise you at the rezone.
I appreciate that. Yes,
yes,
thank
sir.
you. Yes.
Somebody, was it multi-use or was it a sidewalk?
Yeah, I said sidewalk or multi-use.
It would be a sidewalk.
Multi-use is just as cheap. It's just
work with them on that. The ordinance the conditional district required a sidewalk. We can certainly try to work with them in the future to get a multi-use path.
Okay.
You guys have already procured the easement out to 210 as well, right?
That document has been provided to the town as well.
And there are 2 access roads.
Yes, sir. There's one to 17 and one to 210.
You can see it.
Well, they covered that, I'll tell you that, that's for sure.
Well, I'll tell you.
Is there any further questions for Amy concerning the evolved site plan?
And there's plenty of parking spaces, right? I think I saw it's over.
Yes, ma'am. There's 264 units and 499 parking spaces.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to the town council consider approval of the site plan as presented.
I'd like to second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries for the evolved site plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next are the 2 items that were added to the agenda tonight. And which one you want to do first, Kyle?
I'm at the pleasure of you, Madam Mayor, and the
Let's
council.
do, fill the vacancy on beautification enhancement first.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Ron Siebert to the Beautification and Enhancement Committee.
He's here, by the way.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to just to say that I'm not going to vote. I trust my colleagues. This come up short notice. I'm sure Mr. Ron will be a great candidate, but the applications were in our emails, but I didn't know that we were doing this tonight. I thought it was farther down the road, so I didn't really get a chance to review these applications. So if this allowed, I'm going to step back from voting.
Allowed or just a no, or just,
If you don't vote, it'll be a yay vote.
so you would have to say no, okay, if you don't want to. So I have a motion and a second.
Are there, I mean, just because we acknowledge the fact that one person's here, are there any other applicants here? Just in case. Okay. Just curious. Okay. Fair enough.
So I don't think the applicants, no one knew that it was added to the agenda, so.
I know, just because
Yeah.
we said you were here,
Yeah.
no offense, but
Yeah.
just in case anybody else is here, I don't want them to feel.
Just so you'll know, when I vote no, it's nothing against you. It's about you and I have not met. I'm sure you're, like I said, I trust my colleagues here, but I wasn't prepared to vote.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to appoint Ron Siebert to the Beautification Enhancement Committee. Next item is going to be the bid for our Banks Channel Navigation Project, and I will call upon Kyle to present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, council and public that are here. I'm going to try and walk us through the Banks Channel Navigation Project. So this project was something that the town had been looking at since probably 2018, 2019, maybe even before that, as a potential option to increase navigation along Banks Channel, and then the byproduct of that is beneficial reuse of the sediment material to be placed onto Surf City beaches. We're going to fast forward just a couple of years. The town was notified that we were going to be finally funded for the Coastal Storm Risk Management Project, or the Army Corps 50-year nourishment project. That was very late 19, very early 2020. So we had all sites set on the core project, in which we still do have sites set on the core project. But this navigation project was put onto the back burner due to the financial impact of the core project and the anticipation that we were going to be moving forward with that project in short order. Through that project development process, North Topsail Beach had backed out of the CSRM project. That happened in the summer of 2021 and really left the town with a lot of questions unanswered of the Corps in our next steps. Those next steps then included the development of a general reevaluation report after discussions with the division and headquarters of how they were going to do that. Anytime a Corps Civil Works project is modified by more than 20%, it kicks it back into this reevaluation process. So therefore, losing North Topsail Beach or 40% of our project, it pushed us in that area. So working with the town's coastal engineer for this project, we started looking at the potential to complete it due to the fact that Topsail Beach, who utilizes Banks Channel for sediment material as well as the inlet to do beach nourishment, on their beaches there was still a remainder volume left within that location that we could potentially finish out the navigation project and then utilize the sediment byproduct to put onto the beach. I brought this to council and our shoreline committee to take a look at, and council had given the acknowledgement to investigate this option, and if this could be an option, to again do the navigation project and provide some sort of interim sand placement on the beach. So that is what we did. We put the project out to bid. Those bids were due September 26th, which was last Friday. There was a sealed bid process, and we received one bid from Norfolk Dredging. The current statutes allow the town to move forward with only a single bid due to the nature of the dredging business. That bid came in with a base option, which was to provide sand material from Banks Channel onto the Surf City Beach from the Topsail Beach town line north to the Surf City Pier in the amount of 675,000 cubic yards. That base bid came in at $17,494,500. And then the option A add-on to that was the additional material that could be located north of the Surf City Pier, albeit in a less quantity or a smaller profile, but 275,000 cubic yards to be placed from the pier north. The total of that bid was $22,298,500. The way that the Shallow Draft Navigation Fund works in the state of North Carolina is that the local jurisdiction is responsible for 25% of the cost of that project, which means that would have put us over that $5 million mark at about $5.5 million. And then on top of that is certain engineering and design fees that would have to go with it. So what our engineer had gone back and they had talked to Norfolk Dredging and said this was a little bit higher than what we had anticipated. Is there anything that they could do? So they came back and basically said that without doing some side channels, that would remove the necessity of certain equipment and would potentially reduce our quantity volume from 675 cubic yards to 566 cubic yards at a lower unit cost. And then that base bid would come in at $14,448,400, still with a level of comfort of the protection that we were seeking in that design template. The other side of this is that the cost for the mobilization for the increased nourishment project from the pier north would be reduced in scope to about 275 cubic yards. 275,000 cubic yards but would only allow us to put that sand about 1,000 feet north of the pier, generally up to about access 17, because we had to cut out some of the additional mechanical equipment to be able to transport that sand. That gave us a reduction in the bid by $3.4 million and some change. And our total bid on that would be $18,856,650, or 25% of that being less than that $5 million target in which we were seeking. So with that being said, I worked with our finance director to try and look at some projections for our beach nourishment fund, and understanding that there's a time lapse between today and what our anticipated December 2025 or early 2026 Army Corps project start would be that our current fund balance, according to our last audited records, would put our fund, beach nourishment fund balance at $29,052,790.65. Throughout the fiscal year, we budget for revenues to go into that beach nourishment fund. One of those is our investment strategy, so interest earned on that at about $260,000. Our 2025 estimated parking revenues at approximately $1 million. Pender County is gracious and provides us $180,000. The 10-cent tax transfer from your general fund at approximately 1.9, and then the estimated occupancy tax or accommodation tax at 1.63. So then we fast forward to another fiscal year in recognizing revenues. That current fund balance then goes from about $35 million up to about $40,629,468. That's if we spent no money out of our beach nourishment fund up until essentially the day we started the core project. So what I did was took some of these financial points, and also with the growth in the fund based on revenues that are anticipated. And what you'll see in the spreadsheets in front of you are two separate iterations of this, utilizing the figures that came from the Corps on their estimates, one without contingency and then one with the 36% contingency that they were reporting from the general reevaluation report, in which we had a meeting on last week. So what you can see here is our current fund balance of that 29 million number, our estimated fund balance at the end of this fiscal year, which ends in June at 34,038,000. I have a reduction of 5 million, which was our target number, which gives you then a estimated fund balance of fiscal year ending of 26, with that reduction at about $35,643,950. Then what we looked at was the largest impact of the core project, with the contingency being the town's contribution at $33,495,350. Which would then leave us with an estimated fund balance at the end of fiscal year 26 at $2,148,600. That is essentially the, I don't know if worst case scenario is a good phrase to use, but essentially if we are taking that full funded amount of $191 million for our core project and looking at the town's contribution at the max. If we looked at the core project without contingency, that impact would be $24,371,025, and that would give a estimated fund balance at the fiscal year end of $11,272,925. The Banks Channel Navigation Project would follow the standard project timeline for environmental windows, so this work can only happen between November and the end of March, with the potential for a couple of additional extensions into April. And in speaking with the contractor, we could get this project, barring any unforeseen major weather impacts or other impacts, get that done within this environmental window and place this volume of sand onto the Surf City beaches by improving our navigation in Banks Channel. So essentially what I'm asking council to do is consider this, ask questions that you may have. Our coastal engineer is here, I'm sure, to answer the tough questions that I can't answer, but essentially utilizing the financial outlook of it. I think the conservative number is what we probably should focus on, and what our residual fund balance would be in order to look at both of these projects in the next couple of years. So a major injection of sediment onto our beach, and also taking care of some navigation issues. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that the mayor and council have, of this project. And one thing I will note is, just wanted to reiterate too, that the negotiated option would not take sand all the way to the North Topsail Beach town line. At our max, we would be looking at essentially access 17 all the way down south.
Okay, we, just sitting here looking at the sheet again, we think there's a miscalculation and a zero, a couple of
Okay.
zeros.
What you got?
Under,
Melissa, can you come up here, Melissa?
the Pender County
Sorry.
allocation beach nourishment.
Yes.
This one, and see if this says eight.
Oh, I'm
1.8 and
sorry.
This says 180.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we would not anticipate Pender County contributing 1.8 million.
Correct.
This would be 180,000.
Which would drop that number to 348,600.
Yes.
348,000, so that's a big difference.
Yes.
Okay.
That's worst case scenario, Melissa?
This is all conservative.
We like.
Other than the 1.8 that I'm telling you Pender's going to give you, it's all conservative.
That'd be great.
Based on a lot of ifs. So it's based on Mother Nature, of course, being kind to us because our occupancy tax depends, we are very dependent on that with these numbers. So Chris Gibson is here also. If we have any questions concerning the nourishment project, if you want to ask him directly, he is here.
So it's the navigation project for us. Yes. Sorry, Mayor.
So the difference in what we're looking at up here between the with and without contingency has to do with the amount of time our Army Corps project's going to take based on whether or not they're able to start without having the mental restraints essentially to not work during certain seasons on the beach.
There could be a myriad of reasons why they're going to include the contingency there. Obviously, major cost savings with mobilization for any of these projects. That's a major cost that we have for it. So yes, if they're working year-round, we have storms, they have to demobilize and remobilize. Those are things, I hate to say it, I'm assuming there's some of that built into the cost estimate, and then the contingency is going to take some of that above. But what I have here is the numbers provided to us from the Corps, which do project out October 2026 figures, not today figures.
The navigation project that we're working or potentially going to do would start in November and complete when?
Go ahead, Chris.
So my name's Chris Gibson, for anybody. I'm the coastal engineer on the navigation project. The navigation project can be completed between November 15th and March 30th. The dredge that is coming will be the dredge Charleston. They will do somewhere on the order of 20,000 cubic yards a day. So once they get pumping, 60 days, it'll take them to, once they get set up, take them 60 days, 75 days at the top end to complete. Because the work is all in Banks Channel, it's not weather dependent. That dredge will take anything that Banks Channel will throw at it and not think about it because it's an ocean certified dredge. So they will be able to work continuously, sans mechanical breakdowns. So we should be able to start. I don't know exactly when they're going to start. We're still working because they've got to finish up another project before they come here. They will probably start some of the mobilization 1st of November, stuff that's off the beach, because we can't get on the beach before November 15th. But I would expect the dredge to arrive sometime in January and go from January through February, maybe first week of March.
And then when is our actual Army Corps proposed time to put sand on the beach for that project?
Yeah, so they hope what they had told us is that they hope to award that contract and start in December of '25.
So that's here physically putting, or at least starting that so that there's some sort of progress. So we're looking at one potential season in between for something else to maybe happen that would cause issues for our beach.
Correct, and that's if all things align. You know, we do understand that that's a tight window from coming up this May to get the signed chief's report and then carried over to getting sand put on the beach. You know, they feel very confident. They have shopped that project out to the industry, the dredging industry. So I wouldn't have any additional insight that they wouldn't have, I guess, to be able to give you any sort of additional information.
Given that we have this now set aside, do we have enough remaining in the event that there is an occurrence after the Army Corps project is completed, that if we had a major issue, we have enough to do what we need to do to fix our portion of that?
Yeah, so with the core project and when they get completed, we get kicked into a whole nother category. So we're not going into out-of-pocket expenses from the town and then being reimbursed by FEMA, which is a more traditional approach. There's a designated fund, the FCCE fund at the federal level that they would use for these named storms or disasters, and then however that fund is funded, they would then start addressing their core projects to try to bring that back to the original design template, or as close to it as they possibly could. And then also too, this funding mechanism for the every 6-year renourishment process is set in place with accommodation tax and parking and property tax to be able to be, you know, a self-funded type of outlook on it.
So once the navigation project is complete, in the event that something were to happen in that time, what are our options?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you know, Chris and I have talked about this a little bit. Does a portion of our beach become a FEMA engineered beach basically from the pier south to where there's some additional assistance that can be provided by FEMA that we wouldn't receive today?
Right, so if we, like currently, right now, from FEMA, you only qualify for Category B, which is just dune restoration, which we did in 2019, 2020. The truck haul that came in and put a little bit on the edge there. Once we do this project, there will be some paperwork. Should qualify for Category G at that point, which means if the beach gets eroded and we have a FEMA declaration as a disaster area, that we can apply to FEMA for reimbursement of any work that's done there. That's the way that both North Topsail and Topsail Beach have been doing to help run their programs. The area that they dropped out of the federal project at North Topsail Beach is they're managing that under as a FEMA engineered beach. One of the other things too financially is the core template is very large. So even if the beach that we place out there, the beneficial use, erodes, it's not going to get out past where the core template is going to tie in, because they're tying in at like -20. So this is going to be a reduced cost to the federal project because they're not going to have to put as much yardage out there. This sand will still be within that template somewhere. It may be underwater by the time the core gets here, but it'll still be within the template. So while you're spending money, you're still at like a 17.5% cost share, I think, with the feds. You're at a 25% cost share on this one. There's not a big spread on it, and you get to move forward time-wise.
And I appreciate Chris's comments there. Melissa and I have no way of documenting potential cost savings with the core project because I think you've asked that question before, and I wish I could put a dollar amount, and I would represent that in these figures, but I do understand what Chris is saying, and we would anticipate, if we put sand on the beach today, in perspective, that in a year and a half or a year, whatever it is, when the core project comes through, we're going to see some monetary credit on the overall placement.
If I had to throw a number at it right now, which, dredging is what I do, and the estimates, somewhere between the reduction in overall cost of the federal project, somewhere on the order of $12 to $16 million. So you look at that, whatever your 17.5% of that is, that's what would probably be a savings to the town on the federal project.
That's something that could show up on the back end that would just kind of be a.
Yeah, and again, Melissa and I look at each other and we say, I'm the optimist here. I wish I could factor that in. I just can't, but I do trust Chris's judgment and comments when he makes those, so.
I'm surprised Melissa's not committing to some numbers. She makes us commit to numbers all the time.
Yeah. This does not help her bottom line, I can assure you that.
What do we need to do?
So when we first started talking about this a while ago, there were two options. An option to stop after a certain amount of months. Is this still on board for continuous until the project's completed? Started in December 25 and just go until we.
For the core project, that is the way that they are pursuing that. For the beach project, they are pursuing the agreement with all the environmental agencies. That's what they're
non-stops, because the breakdown, I remember, was very expensive to break it down, to bring it back. It was $6-7 million or something.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Kyle, you are looking for a motion to move forward with the shallow draft inlet navigation project,
With
the Norfolk bid.
yes, but I need to know if this includes just the base bid up to the pier, or the base bid with option A as renegotiated up to access 17. And in either one of those options, it would also be contingent on myself and Attorney DeSelms, reviewing contracts, et cetera, that we would need to do that. And I will note that what we looked at with the bid reduction with that option A was still to try and provide protection to our core business district downtown. Because if we stop at the pier, we aren't covering that primary Roland, et cetera, where our business district is located.
I have one more, I hope, quick question. Based on adjusting that number, do we have enough money to do the Banks project and still have enough money left to do the core project, even with the adjustment on that number?
Yeah, I would be comfortable with that, but not the original 22.
Right.
That's where my comfort level starts to go downhill.
Lost me there a second.
Okay,
You
so.
said yes, and then you said no. and I'm
Yeah,
not sure where the
so
difference
with
was.
the readjusted bids, I'm okay with it, but not with the $22 million project. That puts us over our feet, in my opinion, to be able to afford the core
You're talking
project.
about
Yeah,
the one to the bridge and then 1,000 feet, not the entire.
Yeah, not the entire, yes.
So the base
Yes.
and option A is what you're looking for.
If that's what you all want to
That's
do.
the language.
Yes, we
All right, I'll
can.
make a motion that we approve the base and option A.
B-17?
B is, wait a second. B is, what was B? B was 7?
Includes as access up to access 17.
Yes, yes.
That includes the businesses.
Yeah, I want to include.
The business
Yeah,
district.
I would.
Option A.
Is B-17 or A-17?
Oh, okay, so.
Base and option A.
So I'm seeking,
Option, okay.
yeah, I'm seeking a motion to move forward with myself and the attorney to work on contractual documents with the renegotiated bid to include option A.
That's my motion. Yes. What he just said.
All right, Hugh has made a motion to repeat what Kyle just stated, to include option A. Do I have a second?
Let me just,
Oh.
just want to
His
ask a question.
question.
Okay, option A includes to access 17?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Is that because it gives us past the business district?
Yeah.
Well, at Goldsboro Avenue,
Yeah, well,
access
and down,
17.
down past the plus where it is the 17.
Pier plus 1,000 feet.
Yeah, okay. I'll second that.
Any further, we already have a second,
Okay,
John, you can't
sorry.
second it. All right.
Missed
so-
another one.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to move forward with the shallow draft inlet. Okay. All right, that was fun.
Okay.
We will now move to manager's report.
Okay. Once again, good evening, Madam Mayor and council and public. I think I'd probably be remiss to not start off because we always wonder when tragedy hits us and we're dealing with hurricanes and all this other stuff. You always wonder, are people thinking about us? You know, we're going through this day in and day out, and we know where that comes from. So with the impact that we've seen from our fellow North Carolinians, I have colleagues, friends, family, et cetera, that are out there. I just, would like to express, my sympathy, thoughts, and prayers to them. And I know that those in the audience and certainly up here are impacted by that as well. I'd also like to thank the town of Hawley Ridge. I think that they've have stepped up to the plate by being sort of the town donation location, including their residents. But they allowed us to advertise on our social media platforms, the ability for our residents and friends to donate needed items to Hawley Ridge, and they're going to make those trips to the western part of the state to deliver those needed goods to those folks. So I appreciate Hawley Ridge, and I believe it's their police department that really started this coordination effort. Getting a little bit more positive news. We are here. We're beyond excited to have a proper celebration for the grand opening of the Earl G. and Inez Batts Recreation Complex. Acquiring this land almost 5 years ago, and to see what it has become and what potential it still has for the future is amazing. We'll be celebrating with the skate park design team, all the help and input that they provided to make sure that we have a quality skate park product that our people want to use, and not just picking out of a template hat and building something that they won't come to. So hats off to them. But again, ribbon cutting happening this Saturday at 1 p.m. And that invitation is to everybody and their friends and family. I think the town has a lot of activities planned out there, so it's not just to enjoy the park, but some other sort of extracurriculars that folks can do. So please join us again this Saturday at 1 p.m. As we're excited to cut the ribbon and deliver this project to the community. Let's see, it's certainly that time of year again to start working with the town's legislative priorities for the upcoming legislative session. I spoke with staff about this at our last department head meeting so that they can bring new opportunities to discuss with council and our legislators. And a lot of the issues that we do bring forth are generated from the things that they do day in and day out, and some of the roadblocks that they face. We also have a lot of major projects coming up that we need the help and support of our elected officials in Raleigh to make happen. The 4 town managers, Topsail Beach, Surf City, North Topsail Beach, and Holly Ridge, all met yesterday to finalize the solid waste interlocal agreement. So we'll continue that coordination to get a draft request for proposals together, so we can put those out for solicitation. Once those have been received, negotiations and a recommendation will be brought forward to council. Again, I think we're making good strides and working together to try and make some improvements and cost-effective measures to our solid waste program. A couple of big meetings last week, last couple weeks. So that was started off with the NCDOT R5900 project, and then followed up with the Army Corps' public meeting on the general reevaluation report. Both of those meetings were well attended. A lot of folks in here were at those meetings, and some really good questions from our residents about both of the projects, which is really excited. And as the DOT, they've got a lot of investigation work to continue to do, working with property owners, et cetera. But we'll make sure we provide updated information. And then also I'll remind everybody that they do have a project website for that 5900 project. So if anybody wants to go there and look at the designs, they certainly can. The town had put out some information on our social media accounts about some investigation work that DOT is going to be doing over the course of the next several months. So please stay on top of that, so you know what's happening. And then the Corps will still be accepting public comment on the GRR over the next several days. So if you do have any comments on that, please submit those. In a series of meetings, the first one we'll be hosting for area realtors and contractors on October 14th. So we're pretty excited about this to provide updates on important projects, as well as to demonstrate additional resources available. The town always brag on how many resources we do have available. It's just people need to know that we have them, and I think that people will be excited for that. We're gonna follow up with additional community meetings for our island and mainland businesses in the near future. So please be on the lookout for those. Fire department was in here, but just wanted to remind everybody that the season, we don't leave the safety stations up year round, so those have been removed. But again, our fire department is always there to respond. And we'll also have information on resources for anybody to check ocean conditions before they visit the beach. And then kind of on that, but not really, but all the old access flags, we've had a lot of media on this, but those are up for public auction, which is a good opportunity to own a piece of Surf City history. So these things have just been sitting tucked away somewhere, and I think a lot of people will be excited about that. We heard about development and sewer capacities, but the town will implement our subsurface project beginning next week. The overall project was successful, and we'll look forward to future projects of this nature, as well as other opportunities for wastewater treatment and effluent disposal. Just wanted to remind folks we have sort of a normal high amount of delinquent utility accounts that are past due and subject to a termination of service. Terminating services is our absolute last ditch effort to try to get people to pay utility bills. And I hate bringing this up, but I just feel like we needed to bring that up if there's somebody that's not getting a notice for some reason, but letters, door hangers, code red messages, they all go out to try to get everybody on the up and up. And then lastly, what I have is just at the end of the month, we'll be pausing paid parking for the season. We'll look forward to working with our vendor for potential improvements for next year's season. And as we always do, we do a recap of, what needs to be improved, what went well, et cetera. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I'll submit that to council for my report.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. All right. So tonight, I think we're going to start with the town attorney.
Good save, good save.
Yes, Madam Mayor, just real quick, last month I told you we'd be mailing out the tax delinquency letters. Those have been mailed out, so you may get calls, but for the citizens, importantly, this is your last chance to pay before there's any attorney fees associated with it. So these taxes were late as of January 5th or 6th, so it's been several months, and we really need to get those paid without having to go through the foreclosure process.
The date on the foreclosure?
We gave 30 days for them to pay, and if they don't pay, we'll initiate the foreclosures.
All right. I think we'll start with Carla. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just wanted to see your face, Carla. All right. Miss Alicia.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that's helped with anything going on in the mountains. That is my home. Banner Oak was hit really hard, and that's my hometown. So I appreciate the community so much and what they've done, and it's not going unnoticed. So thanks.
John?
Good, you all right? Have candy. Have candy in your mouth. Don't. Just like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. If you have not ventured out to see the park or know about the park, you really should come out on Saturday, because it is truly a jewel added to Surf City. And this is just the first phase. After this, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but the Parks Department really worked hard on this, and all our utility people and all our employees have worked really hard on this, and you should come out. Little side note on smoke detectors. I don't know if you know it, but there's a good rule of thumb to change batteries when daylight saving time hits, because you don't want to be caught with it not being a live battery, because it doesn't do any good in a smoke detector if the battery's dead. So it's like twice a year. But that's it. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Jeremy?
I'm good, thank you.
You?
Just real quick, other people have mentioned it. If you've lived here for any amount of time, you know what a hurricane is, and you've suffered the damage of a hurricane. We've not experienced anything these people are experiencing in the mountains. Do what you can. Don't hurt yourself. Take care of your own family, but if you got a little extra, try to help them out.
I agree. I just don't know hardly any people who haven't been affected in some way by what's happening in the other side of our state. Either they're from there, or they have family who's relocated there, or friends. And it's everybody. It's so much. And I have good friends who live there. And I'm so proud of anybody who does come forth, and any kind of effort and prayer and care is appreciated, I'm sure. So it's hard to have a conversation with anybody today without talking about the latest stories unfolding there, and we're not even close to being finished with that. There'll be so many stories to come, I'm sure, as they continue to get assistance and aid. So it does make you thankful that we didn't get that kind of damage. We've had some before, and so I know I've just enjoyed my family a little bit extra today, or in the past few days, and loved them a little bit more, and just been thankful that they're safe. And I did want to go back to our fire safety, or firefighters recognition tonight, and I appreciate all that they're doing. And I know this is a time where the firefighters and other first responders are making decisions to go and help those towns, and they just have special stuff that they're made of. So I'm thankful that our fire department is so incredibly talented and skilled, and they work very hard at achieving all of those certifications and education, and I'm just always thrilled to brag about our police force and our fire department here. And so I don't want to experience anything like the other cities are experiencing, but I know that our teams would do everything possible to keep us safe. So.
If I may add, just want to let everybody know, last Friday, our emergency management director, James Horn, he took assignment through volunteer through North Carolina Emergency Management, and he's been up there since last Friday on a radio team. Also, Kelly, our PIO, is potentially going to be heading up there to fill a role. Sergeant Benson of our police department has gone out west, and I'm supporting these individuals as long as we continue our operations here. And then my understanding is that our fire department is seeking a potential team to head out west to help. So I did want to acknowledge those who are stepping up here in our organization as well.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we offer our condolences to our island community of Topsail Beach, to their family and friends and co-workers of Mayor Steve Smith. He was dedicated to his leadership and efforts to improve the community that he lived in, and he will never be forgotten. His son worked for the town of Surf City, and Steve was someone that was super, Chris has already left, but when it came to our beaches, our inlets, our waterways, anything to do with being resilient, Steve Smith that was his definitions. He was a man of resilience. And I am very grateful to have been his friend. And I hope you have a good evening. Thanks for coming out. And don't forget, there are some events that are going on in town this weekend. The Real Housewives will be doing their bike ride on Saturday morning, so be safe if you're out and about this weekend. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.